Hello, everyone. It's truly an honor to be here virtually with you at the Circle of Healing Mental Health Conference hosted by the Monique Woolley Foundation. When feeling blue, think yellow. To each of you, whether you're here as a survivor, someone who has lost a loved one, someone currently struggling, or someone supporting others in this work, welcome. I'm so glad you're here, and I wish I could be with you in person. My name is Dr. Danielle Jeffry. I'm a registered psychotherapist from just outside Toronto, Canada. I had the privilege of meeting Amor Dalus a few months ago through a mutual friend. And when we connected, there was this immediate shared sense of purpose, this desire to bring light into spaces that feel overwhelmingly dark. So Amor, thank you for your leadership, for your heart, and for creating spaces like this where conversations can happen. Today, I want to talk about connection. Because when words don't work, connection still can. I want to pause here right from the start to speak to those of you who have lost someone that you love. For many of you, I imagine that there were words spoken, conversations had, attempts to reach them, to reassure them, to help them see. And when those words didn't land, it can leave behind questions, regret, and even guilt. What else could I have said? And I gently want to offer this. It may not have been about the words, because when someone is in that depth of pain, words often can't reach where they are. But your presence, your love, your efforts to connect, those mattered more than you'll ever know. From a clinical perspective, one of the most helpful ways to understand suicidality is through the lens of disconnection. Research tells us that two of the strongest drivers of suicidal thinking are a sense of not belonging and a belief of that I am a burden. So essentially, suicidal thinking comes from a disconnection from others and a disconnection to our sense of worth. At the core of the work I do is a person-centered belief that every person has inherent worth, dignity, and value, even when they can't see it themselves. Healing doesn't come by convincing someone of that. It begins by being with them in a way that reflects their worth, that shows them how much they are valued. So what's happening in the mind? When someone is suicidal, the thoughts often sound like, I'm worthless. People would be better off without me. There's no way out. And here's what's important. These thoughts aren't random. They're the mind's attempt to solve unbearable pain. Because for many people, thinking about suicide is actually not about wanting to die. It's about wanting relief, escape, silence. And in that moment, that thought can feel convincing, not because it's true, but because the mind is overwhelmed. What does resilience look like? We've often been taught that resilience looks like pushing the thoughts away or replacing them with positive ones or being strong. But clinically, resilience looks more like reconnection to the self, not by eliminating the pain, but by changing how we relate to ourselves within the pain. If you're comfortable, let's try something together. Let your hand represent the thought, I'm worthless. I'm going to ask you to bring it up close to your face, and I know many of you are wearing makeup right now, so you don't have to actually touch your face, but get as close as you can without ruining your makeup. All right, here we go. This thought, I am worthless. If I have it right here, fused to my face, I can't see clearly. It's in the way of everything. Okay, now slowly move your hand away a little bit. Now I can see the world again. And I can also see my hand. That's a powerful space from here to here. I just moved from I'm worthless to, oh, I'm having the thought that I'm worthless. There's a shift that happens in that space. Instead of fighting the thought or believing it completely, we begin to respond to ourselves with a kind of internal presence. So here, I'm having the thought that I am worthless. Oh, I know this thought. It's a familiar one. I think I know where it comes from. And I'm noticing that I feel that deep sense of sadness when I think that thought. Something changes. It's as if I'm joining with myself instead of the thought. Instead of being alone in the pain, we are with ourselves in the pain. Something happens over time that's remarkable. The thought doesn't disappear immediately or completely, but the thoughts lose their power. We become less overwhelmed by them, and we begin to experience something that many people haven't felt in a long time, choice. That's where pain begins to transform. There is a body of research into what's called post-traumatic growth, and it looks at how people change during significant hardship. It shows that while trauma absolutely can lead to suffering, it can also lead to deeper meaning, clearer values, stronger relationships, and a desire to contribute to others. It doesn't happen automatically. It happens through connection. Again, connection to the self, understanding who I am and what matters to me, and connecting to others, using my experience in a way that brings meaning into other people's lives. We're actually sitting, or I should say you are all sitting, in a living example of this right now. This conference, this community, the Monique Woolley Foundation, When Blue, Think Yellow, exists because of profound loss, because Monique's life mattered. Out of unimaginable pain, something has been created that is now bringing connection, awareness, and healing to others. This is what we mean when we talk about post-traumatic growth. Not that the loss is ever worth it, but that love continues to move and that meaning can still be made, even in the aftermath of tragedy. So what actually keeps people going? Because when someone is deeply suicidal, logic doesn't work. You can't argue someone out of that place. I remember working with a mother of 3. She had chronic pain. She was exhausted and overwhelmed, and she was completely convinced that her family would be better off without her. Actually completely convinced that even if her children saw her take her life, that the trauma they'd live with would be better than them living with their mom. No matter what we said, no matter how much we tried to help her see otherwise, it didn't land. Because in that state, the mind isn't processing clearly. That's the part I want you to hear. When someone is suicidal, it's not just that they feel bad, it's that they can no longer see clearly. Clinically, we know that when someone is in that level of distress, the part of the brain that's responsible for reasoning isn't fully online, which is why words alone often don't work. So if words don't work, what does? Connection. In therapy, we talk about 2 different modes: content and process. So content is the problem solving, the reframing, the logic. And then process is something different. Process is presence. It's sitting with someone in their pain without necessarily trying to change it. I often describe it like this. When someone is in that state, it's like there's a wall between them and the rest of the world. And we keep trying to throw words at the wall, hoping that something will break through, but it doesn't. So instead, we climb the wall and we sit beside them on the other side. We don't argue, we don't convince, we be with. Instead of trying to prove to someone that they matter, we are showing them through our presence that they do. I learned this not only as a therapist, but also in my personal life. One of my sisters struggled deeply with depression growing up. On a couple of occasions, she attempted to take her life. I couldn't understand, and I was really scared. I remember as a teenager banging on that locked bathroom door, begging her to stop hurting herself. I was angry at her. Until one day in university, I found myself in a similar dark place. I was considering driving off the highway, and then suddenly I got it. So I went to her, I held her, and I told her, I get it now. That moment changed everything between us. We call it spirit to spirit. And looking back, I realized that moment didn't come from having the right words. It came from finally being able to meet her in the place that she had been for so long. That place where you are fully seen, fully known, and not alone. And that's what helps people stay. Connection. Not fixing, not convincing, but presence. And to each of you here today, you are already doing this. By being here, by sharing your stories, by listening to others, you are creating connection. And connection does something powerful. It creates space. In that space, people can begin to breathe again, to see more clearly, to find their way forward. I've been thinking about that phrase that anchors this conference, when blue, think yellow. And I don't think that means just think positively or look on the bright side. Because again, when someone is in that depth of pain, that's not accessible. Instead, I think yellow is something we experience. Yellow is light. And when someone is lost in the darkness of their own mind, they can't always find the light on their own. But through connection, through presence, through sitting with someone, spirit to spirit, we can be a light. We help each other see again, not as something we force, but as something that we offer to one another. So when blue, think yellow, and sometimes be yellow. Thank you.